Anyone interested in doing some deep breathing exercises with me before I can say? Would that be weird? Or it's just me? I have some notes here. Let's see. I'm a drummer, so I'm not used to having a microphone. Usually tucked in the back. So one of the earliest memories that I have of my sister is one that I'm not entirely sure that she remembers, but it was when I think I was making the transition from elementary school to middle school, and if this is not right, then I'll just continue to make it up, because the sentiment will be there. And so I think it was like my first day of 6th grade or something, and I was incredibly nervous. I didn't know what I was getting into, and of course riding the bus is like a modern day caste system of sorts, or like modern day, if you're the coolest kids are in the back, the newest and most fragile kids are in the front, and I made a dire mistake of trying to be like 3/4 of the way back, trying to not fit in with the kids who were really scared, but also realizing that I had this older sister who would watch out for me if something went down, and sure enough, it went down. So I'm sitting there farther back in the bus than I should have been, and I'm sitting there, and this kid comes up to me who was older, and his name was Eddie Howlett. Yep. And I hope he's not here. I hope none of y'all are related to him. Because Eddie came back, and he gave me some grief. And pointing out that I was too far back at the bus, and he started to intimidate me. And we hadn't even made it a block from my house, and I was thinking, oh my goodness. Should have gone to private school. Should have had my mom take me. And I'm sitting there, Eddie comes back, and he starts giving me grief. And then, without any pause at all, my sister comes back, and at least in my memory, this is how it went down. And it was something like, Eddie, that's my little brother. You do not talk to, look at, or even think about my little brother. And then my ass, she was like, get your ass out of here, or something. Something crazy that just took it to the next level. And then Eddie scrammed, and I remained safe, at least for that ride. And it had a big impact on my first day in middle school. And I thought, who's next? What's up? How's it going? And I was, not to mention, I was highly versed in martial arts, so I could have defended myself if Eddie wanted to go, but I let my sister take care of it. And so anyway, the note that I have for that anecdote was just that my sister is my hero. And that was the first instance in which she has really watched out for me, and established herself as my hero. And that remains so today. She's been my hero for my entire life. I look to her as to who to be and what decisions to make, and how to conduct myself, and how to approach life head first, with the fear you have and all, and getting through it regardless. So that's my anecdote about my sister establishing herself as the hero in my life, and it remains true. So when I wanted to kind of write some cliff notes for my toast, which I'm sure I've done at the time by now, is only at number 2 of 7, but I had 2 points, and I'll start to keep it short and sweet here. 2 things that I thought of were that, number 1, Brian cares for my sister, and that was a bullet point. And the next one was that Brian cares for my family, and I wanted to elaborate on both of those. Brian cares for my sister in big and little ways, and in little ways that mean big things. I don't exactly know the details of this, but it was either Christmas or birthday or something when I think Brian was leaving little gifts for you around the house to like discover over time. And I thought that was the most incredible thing you could ever do for someone. I was almost offended by how lovely that was. I was hoping Kat wouldn't hear about that and would hold me to such a standard.
Still
and
waiting.
I thought, you know, Brian essentially created some miniature Hanukkah for Sarah. And it was like this elaborate discovery gifts on the third day. And just like, this guy is killing it. And even today, you know, Brian had this wonderfully planned out sequence of gifts for Sarah today, you know, where he had thought about it well in advance, and each of the groomsmen went up to Sarah's room and brought gifts. And you know, Brian's concern today was not on how am I doing or what is, you know, how am I looking. It was on Sarah. It was on how's Sarah doing. You know, has Sarah got the next gift? Has she got the flowers? Everything was about, I'm just getting to that point and making sure that my bride is well and happy. Brian has cared for my family in many ways. One being just being with us in this past year and stepping up in big ways and just hanging with us. And that's something that I'll never forget. Brian involving me in the proposal was another big way that he's just shown his care for our family. And then finally, I think the ways that he'll continue to care for my family is by answering all sorts of outlandish medical questions from my mother. Well, I don't know about outlandish, but maybe a few here and there. Because we didn't have a doctor in the family until now. And now we have a panel of doctors, so I got all y'all's numbers. We've got optometry, we've got everything. And so some of the questions that I just thought that you might hear at some point this year or later, Brian, were things like, so my mom might call you, hey Brian, how are things going? Uh-huh, mm-hmm, you've been pretty, oh, you're still at work? Let me just ask you this question. I couldn't find this on Google. Google didn't have this. I'm just wondering, have they recently increased the amount of daily recommended alcohol intake? Because my friend Janine said that they did, and I just want to call you and see if that was true or not. Have they? Oh, they did? Oh, they actually decreased it? Oh, and then I could think of other questions like, Brian, say, you know, if I had like a friend who had like a cousin who had like a large rash that had been there for like 10 or 15 days, like, well, just hypothetically, what would you say to that friend? Or what would I say to that friend's cousin if by chance that were to be true? So just things like that, hopefully you're prepared for. Anyway, I've got some other ones. We can go through the bloopers later. I had all sorts of ideas. You know, and to end it on a sweet and bittersweet note, it has to be known and just said that, you know, Brian, you have my father's blessing, and what more could a man want in moving into a marriage, spend the rest of your life with my sister. And you have my father's blessing, and absolutely you have mine. So I love you guys. Cheers. Salud.
Cheers.